Students, today we are going to study the term 2 lesson 1. You know that any kind of work you do, you want some amount of energy for it. Energy for any work you do, basically you are getting from food that we eat. So now we are going to see the lesson food. What is food? What is food? Food, any nutritious substance that people eat or drink to maintain life and growth. So, what does the food contain? Anybody know? Last year you have learned. What does the food contain? The food contains nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. So, now we are going to see the lesson food. Introduction. Our body needs nutrients like proteins, carbohydrates, fats, for its proper function. So, proteins contain milk, cake, that and all proteins it's contained. The carbohydrate means where it is contained? It is contained in rice, wheat. So, fat means the oiled food and all it contain that fat. So, get these nutrients. What are the nutrients? These means what are these nutrients? Proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins and minerals from the food we eat. So, we are getting these nutrients whatever your food we are eating. If we do not take all these nutrients in right proportion, what much we want, that much we are not eating, means what will happen? It results in some diseases. Sometimes we do not preserve the food properly and it gets spoiled. So we are not, whatever food we are eating, we are not keeping properly, means what will happen? It will spoiled. Sometimes through the spoiled food also we get diseases. So we are eating the spoiled food also, we are getting diseases. So we need to preserve the food we eat. So whatever food we are eating, what want to do? We want to preserve the food. In this lesson, we will study about the spoilage of foods and way to preserve them. So what you are going to learn? We are going to learn about the spoilage of food and ways to preserve them, deficiency diseases and balanced diet, and also about the kitchen safety. After this lesson completed, what you are going to study? Spoilage of foods and way to preserve them, deficiency diseases, balanced diet and also kitchen safety. So first you are going to learn spoilage of food. Already know, I think so. Spoilage means you are not good for eating. Okay, food is easily spoiled. Okay, so the food items like fruits, vegetables, milk and meat will be fresh for very short time. For example, your milk you are keeping outside 4 or 5 hours, means what will happen? It will spoiled. Okay, so the fruits are the same, like 1 or 2 days after, what will happen? It is spoiled. So which food it contains, it will be very short time it is fresh, means that food only called as a perishable food. So fruits, vegetables, milk and meat will be fresh for very short time. These are called as the perishable foods. So they get spoiled easily. So these perishable foods and they get spoiled easily. Some food items like rice have long time, but they also decompose. So the change in normal state of the food is called as the spoilage of food. So what is the spoilage of food? The change in the normal state of the food. The change in the normal state of the food is called as the spoilage of food. The spoiled food becomes unsuitable to eat. We can notice such changes from the taste. So how can you identify the spoiled food? The taste will vary, the smell will vary. So that food only you can change and change the taste and smell, means you know that is a spoiled food. So what are the changes you are noticing? The taste will vary, the smell will vary of the spoiled food. Eating spoiled food results in the diseases. So we are eating the spoiled means what will happen? It will result the diseases. So next topic is the causes. First you study spoiled food. Spoiled food means we are not suitable for eating. So causes means the reason for the spoilage of food. What reason the food is spoiling? Okay. Once the food items are harvested, they begin to decompose. Once the food is harvested, means what will happen? To begin to decompose. Food can be spoiled. The factors like air and oxygen, moisture, enzymes, microorganisms, light and temperature. So, what are the reasons the food is spoiling? Air and oxygen, moisture, enzymes, microorganisms, light and temperature. So, these are the reasons the food will spoiling. Air and oxygen, moisture, enzymes, microorganisms, light and temperature. First, we are going to study air and oxygen. In our surroundings, where what is present? Air is present. Yeah, in the air, the oxygen also present. So, when oxygen reacts with the food content, it produces changes the color and the flavor of the food. So, oxygen reacts with the food items. What will happen? It changes the color and the flavor of the food. The flavor, the taste of the food also it will change. So, air and oxygen is react with the food means what will happen? The color and flavor of the food will change. Next one, moisture. Moisture keeps the food fresh. Okay, there's some fruits and vegetables also moisture is present. So, moisture keep the food fresh. When the moisture is in the is gone means it's go out means what will happen? Vegetables and fruits string. In the picture you are seeing means see the orange and the brinjal you are seeing it is string. It is means that decreasing in size. Okay, string. So moisture keep the food fresh. When the moisture is gone, vegetables and fruits string. So, due to the evaporation, moisture loss occurs in food like meat, fish and cheese. Okay, so these of the evaporation means the water is gone out. Okay, gone out means what will happen? It will, food will, like meat and fish will, that evaporation, it also, the change, the spoiling. Okay, so that it is spoiling to moisture also, moisture reduce also, the food will spoiling. Next one, enzymes. Enzymes break down the tissues and components of the food in different ways like oxidation, browning and ripening. Browning means I think you know the example. In your apple you are cutting and keeping on that outside means what will happen after half an hour or 1 hour, what will happen? It will change the color, browning. So, enzymes present in apple so that only it is changing the color. Okay, browning. Enzymes break down the tissues and components of the food in different ways like oxidation, browning and ripening. What is the meaning ripening? Ripening the fruit, the fruit, the fruit, it will change into, that banana is all change into the ripening. So, the enzymes break down the tissues and components of the food in different ways like oxidation, browning and ripening. So, the food items decay. So, the food items will decayed. Next one, microorganisms. Microorganisms means it is a small, very small organisms, very small living things. We can see through the microscope. We cannot see through our naked eye, through our eyes. So microorganisms only are seeing through the microscope. Okay, we are not seeing through our naked eye. Okay, microorganisms such as fungi, yeast and bacteria can grow well in low temperature. For that example, we can say means in bread, 4 or 5 days after that, what will happen? It will, the fungi will form in the bread. I think you are seeing already that bread will change the color in black in color. So, microorganisms such as fungi, yeast and bacteria can grow well in low temperatures. They multiply in food and spoil them. It will, the low temperature, what will happen? Mean it will multiply, it will increase that amount. Okay, multiply in food and spoil them. Microorganism, either very small organism. Okay, light. Light produces color changes and also vitamin loss. Light produces color changes and also vitamin loss. Temperature. Sometimes rise in temperature causes food spoilage. In hot summer days and all, the fruit and all easily they will decay. What is the reason? In the rise, the temperature will rising. So sometimes rise in temperature causes food spoil. So what are the causes? What are the reasons for the spoilage of food? First one, air and oxygen, moisture, enzymes, microorganisms, light and temperature. Next one, effect. Effect means result. What results you are getting? You are eating the spoilage food means what effect, what result you are getting. Spoilage food are not suitable to eat. Okay, spoilage food are not suitable to eat. Whenever the food is spoilage, don't eat. Okay, they may not to be fresh and tasty sometimes it will be harmful to consume them. So they may not be fresh and tasty. Sometimes it will be harmful to consume. You are eating means some health issues it will affect. Okay, so microorganisms present in spoiled foods may cause foodborne diseases like stomachache, fever, dysentery, vomiting, and indigestion. So when you are eating the spoilage food, what and all you are getting the diseases like stomachache, stomach pain, okay, or your stomach ache, fever, dysentery, vomiting, and indigestion. So what are the spoiled food? What you are eating? What will your result you are getting? You are getting some diseases. The spoilage food is not suitable for eat, but you are eating. Sometimes we know or no, we know unknowingly you are eating. Means what will you cause? You are affecting the stomachache, fever, dysentery, vomiting, and digestion. So in this chapter, what you have studied, ma? You have studied about the spoilage of food. What is spoilage food mean? The food. The change in food, the normal state of the food, the change in the normal state of the food is called as the spoilage of food. Eating the spoilage food is not suitable for to eat. Causes. What are the reasons it is causing? What are the reasons the food is spoiling? Air and oxygen, moisture, enzymes, microorganisms, light and temperature. So in these reasons only the spoilage, the food will change into spoilage food. Next one, effect. What you are eating? Yes, suppose you are eating the spoilage food meal, what will affect? You will affect the stomach pain, fever, dysentery, vomiting, and indigestion. We are going to study about how to prevent the food from spoilage. That is preservation. Okay, now we are going to learn the topic preservation of food. Preservation, the process of keeping the food materials for a long time without getting spoiled, is called preservation of food. Already we studied perishable food. No? Perishable food means the food item we are keeping fresh in short time. That same food item, for example, what and all you studied, fruits, vegetables, then milk also you studied. For same things, you are keeping the fridge or somewhat method you are using, and you are using the preserve the food for long time. That is called as a preservation. So what is preservation? The process of keeping the food materials for a long time without getting spoiled is called the preservation of food. Food will be spoiled if it is not prepared, preserved, and handled in a right way. So what are the reasons food will spoiled? Food will spoiled if it is not prepared, properly not prepared, then preserved and handled in a right ways. There are many methods used to prevent, delay, and reduce the spoilage of food. So many ways are to prevent the food spoilage. Okay, so prevent, delay, and reduce the spoilage of food. So what is the preservation? Preservation is the process. So it is a process of keeping food materials for a long time. Okay, the process of keeping food materials for a long time without getting spoiled is called as the preservation of food. Okay, this is the answer for the preservation of food. Now we are going to the methods of the preservation of food. Okay, first method, food preservation methods. Okay, food preservation methods. Cultivation of food requires a lot of effort. I think you know cultivation. In the cultivation, so many steps are there. First one, sowing, plowing, then irrigation, then harvesting. So many methods are there under the cultivation. So cultivation of food requires a lot of efforts. Effort means so many ways, so many effort you are giving, only we are getting the food material. So cultivation of food requires a lot of efforts. Nowadays, food cultivation and the crop yield are decreasing. Why it is decreasing? What is the meaning of decreasing? The amount will very low. Why? Nowadays, food cultivation and crop yield are decreasing. So many buildings are constructed in the land. So cultivation also now very less. And the yield, whatever getting the product from the cultivation, that only called as a yield. So yield also very decreases. There are many people suffering in the world without food. So cultivation is less, so that the so many people suffering in the food without food. Without food they are suffering. Okay, so we need to protect and preserve the food. So the cultivation is less only, so a lower quantity only we are getting. So we want to protect, we want to save the whatever we are getting from the cultivation. So preserve the food. The following are the ways to preserve the food. Some methods are there to preserve the food. The first one is the drying. I think you know drying means where you are always you are keeping what coming in the mind. Sunlight you are keeping them some things, no, that is drying. Okay, it is the removal of water content from the food. Okay, well, we are keeping somewhat soaked in that water means what you are doing, immediately keeping under the sunlight. So it is the removal of water from the food material. You are removing the water content from the food by drying it in the sunlight. So where we are keeping? We are keeping in the sunlight. What you are removing? Removal of water content from the food by drying it is in the sunlight. Example, grains. Mostly that grains means paddy, wheat, everything we are keeping under the sunlight. We are drying. We are keeping in the drying means we are using so many that 1 or 2 the more months we can use it. Okay. Next one, addition of salt. I think in pickles and all preparation, in house your mother and all prepare, now there you are adding the salt more. Why they are adding the salt more? It is not spoiled. So that only next one, addition of salt. When salt is added to food, it removes the water from the food. Okay. Here also same, there also removal of water. In addition of salt also, it's removing the water from the food. Example, fish, pickles. Pickles means you know, no, so many pickles are using. Mango pickle, there whatever pickles we are adding, salt we are more adding means it is not spoiled. The less salt means immediately it will spoil. So that only when salt is added to food, it removes the water from the food. Example, fish and pickles. Next one, addition of sugar. When sugar is added to food, it dissolves in the water content. Already there removes the water. We studied in the addition salt. Here what happened? Dissolves in the water content of the food and preserves the food items from the spoilage. Here what happened when sugar is added to food? When any jam, fruit juices and all you are using, no? So when sugar is added to food, it dissolves means fully mixed. Okay, dissolves in the water content of the food and preserves the food items from spoilage. We are adding the sugar means it dissolves inside that food. So it is mingled. It is combined with the food. So so we are keeping the food so many times, so many usage. Okay, preserves the food items from spoilage. Example, jam, fruit juice and fruit juices. Okay, so here we have studied three topic: drying, addition of salt, addition of sugar. Next one is the freezing. I think you know the where what item we are keeping in the fridge. Freezing means we are keeping the things in fridge. For example, milk, then vegetables, fruits, whatever we are keeping for we are using for 4 more days. We are keeping in the refrigerator. So microbial growth and the enzyme activity on the frozen food items can be prevented by this method. What happened? Microbial already studied. What is a microorganism? Microbial growth means the bacteria, fungi, that yeast, that formation and all. We are keeping the food in the fridge means the activity, the growth of microbial will reduced or decreased. So microbial growth and the enzyme activity on the frozen food. What is the meaning of frozen food? Cooled food. Okay, cooled food items can be prevented by this method. Example, fruits and vegetables. Next one, boiling. It kills the microorganisms present in the food materials. For example, water and milk you are using means you are boiling. And the milk you are boiling means that 1 or 2 days you are not one day you are not having a power. What you are doing? Immediately take the milk from the fridge and keeping boiling the milk. Boiling means you can use it the 1 day fully. So What happened there? It kills, that boiling kills the microorganism present in the food items. So that only you are using the method boiling. It kills the microorganisms present in the food materials. Example, milk and water. Next one, canning and bottling. Canning and bottling. In this method, food is packed in airtight cans. Okay, airtight containers you are using now, so that germs do not grow on them. They, whenever packing time, what they are doing, the air is not going inside. Thatly, the tightly they closed. Okay, in this method, food is packed in the airtight cans so that germs do not grow on that. Example, milk powder. Then something you are using, juice, the canned juice, happy, that and all you are using. There air is not there, so that only the food is not spoiled inside the can. Okay. Next one, addition of chemical preservation. This much time you have studied them. The normal whatever we are using in the home, that one you added here. Addition of chemical preservatives. Chemical preservatives are added to stop the growth of the microbe. Whatever we are adding, the chemicals are naturally, we are reduce the growth of the microorganisms. Already studied what is microorganism. We are seeing the through the microscope only, called as a microorganism. We cannot see through our eyes. So it is a very tiny organism. Okay. So, chemical preservatives are added to stop the growth of microorganisms in certain food materials. All the materials we are not adding the chemical preservative. Some material is there, some food items only we are using the chemical preservatives. Example, sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate is added with fruits. Sulfur dioxide is added with dry fruits. Vinegar is added with pickles. Already we studied that salt also added in the pickles. Here, one more thing they given chemical preservative, vinegar also added with pickles. So, what are the chemical preservatives are adding here? Sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate is added with fruit. Fruit, we are adding the sodium benzoate. Sulfur dioxide is added with dry fruits. Vinegar is added with pickles. Next one, purpose of food preservation. What is the meaning of purpose? What is the need of the food preparation? Purpose means need. Why you want to preserve the food? Why you want to preserve the food? Well, I can ask the question, means what is the why we want to need the food preservation. Now we can see that modern technologies have increased in the food production. Nowadays, the olden days compared to olden days, nowadays more technologies we are using. Olden days and all, the cow only, the plowing they use. Nowadays we are using vehicles we are using and we are plowing. Then everything, harvesting also before and all man only done. Here nowadays what a machine, there also they are using the machine. So modern technology, nowadays more technology development in using in the cultivation also. So modern technologies have increased the food production. Okay, modern technology, old compared to olden years, now we are using so many technologies, and increased means more production is there. But practicing agriculture is abandoned in many places. Okay, practicing agriculture, more technologies is there, but discontinue is there. The discontinue is we give up. Okay, more places we are not using. Many places there is a failure of monsoon. What is the meaning of monsoon? The proper time, proper rain, adequate rain you are getting, means that is a failure of. Whenever we whenever we are getting the rain, the July, August, September and all, we are getting that time, proper, that enough rain we are not getting. So that only the cultivation also there, less cultivation is. So, but practicing agriculture is abundant in many places as there is a failure of monsoon. At that same time, many people suffer in the world without also cultivation is not there. So why cultivation is there, not there? Rain is proper and sufficient or adequate rain is not getting. So that cultivation is less, that product is less. So what happened? The people also suffer without food in the world. Okay. So food should be wasted by any means, so that we are not wasting the food anyways. We are using the food. One day we are more prepared, means what to do, we can use it. You can give those who are not getting the food, you can give. Okay, that way you can follow. Preservation of food is important for the following reasons. So why the food is preserved? What is the importance of the food preservation? To retain color. Okay, to retain means to continue the color, taste and nutritive value of the food. Okay, so to retain the color, taste and nutritive value of the food, to make food available throughout the year. Once for example, for mango and all, some seasons only are getting. For example, April, May only are getting the mangoes. But nowadays we are getting throughout the year, but our rate is a little varied, but throughout the year now we are getting. How we are getting? The preservation method we are using, and we are getting the mangoes. So to first step, the first one is to retain the color, taste and nutritive value of the food, to make food available throughout the year. Throughout the whatever the seasonal food also, throughout the year you want to get, so that you are using the preservation method. To prevent the growth of microorganisms like bacteria and fungi in the food items. So we can prevent the growing of the microorganisms, also prevent from the bacteria and fungi in the food items. To reduce the wastage of food materials. To reduce the wastage of food materials. Preserving food not only protects our health, but also makes food available to the people who need it. Only preserve, we only want that, like you preserve means what is the use? Whatever preserving you want to give to whoever need. Okay, preserving food not only protects our health, but also makes food available to people who need it. So in this class, what and all you studied? What is the preservation? Okay, what is the preservation? The process of keeping the food materials for a long time without getting spoiled is called as the preservation of food. So preservation means we are keeping the food items for using long time. That method only called as a preservation of food. In this food preservation method, something you are adding and you are preserving. First one is the drying, addition of salt, addition of sugar, then freezing, boiling, canning and bottling, addition of chemical preservatives. These only the food preservation methods. Next one, what is the need of the food preservation or purpose of the food preservation? To retain the color and taste and nutritive food of then to make food available throughout the year, to prevent the growth of microorganisms like bacteria and fungi in the food, to reduce the wastage of food materials. Preserving the food only protects whoever need you want to give. Thank you.